Good evening and welcome to the Irish column for Sunday, the 10th of September.
Good evening, Paul.
2023. And we're broadcasting live on www.freedomradio.net and Twitter at FitzyDub and the Irish channel. We're on Telegram on Derek Bloy's channel and Anto Boyle's chat and Reclaim Ireland on the Irish channel. My co-host for tonight is Anto Boyle. Hello, Anto. How are you doing?
How are you, Paul? Thanks so much for having me. And I mean, kudos to you and AJ for everything that goes on behind the scenes, because it's some serious tech and a lot of preparation goes on behind the scenes. So thanks so much for doing what you guys do and for the opportunity to speak here. I think I'm getting a bit of a double.
I don't think you're all right there. Yeah, I think you're all right.
I think you need to mute your mic, Paul.
Sorry, hang on. I'm just having a bit of trouble with me background there. It's like as though I'm going to. It's like as though I'm doing. Look at me there. I'm like Mr. Spock.
As expected, guys. This is the first time I've been on anyway with these, so it's
exactly. Yeah, we have a couple of topics there for tonight to go through, Anto. And the government can protect everyone from inflation. The ESRI. We have a few things to talk about on that. And we the Fair City propaganda, the NGO, RTE disinformation cartel.
Rebound, Paul. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to plug out my earphones altogether, and I'm just going to see if that fixes the problem. Paul, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to plug out my earphones altogether.
See, technical difficulty already.
I'm still hearing the rebound.
Is there a phone or anything on there or anything like that? I can't really see too much, or I can't do too much. But again, as I said, we're Fair City propaganda and the NGO disinformation cartel. That's a story from the Burkean that we're going to talk about. Again, as I said, we're Fair City propaganda and the NGO disinformation cartel. That's a story from the Burkean that we're going to talk about. Again, as I said, we're Fair City propaganda and the NGO disinformation cartel.
Is my audio fixed there, guys?
No. Your audio was brutal there. Go out and come back in. No. How about that? No. Go out and come back in. No. I'm just going to remove you there, Anto. Sorry, it's just we have to do it. But as I said, we're at the volatile corporation tax. The income fell by 1.1 billion in August, and that's heavy now, I have to say. And then we have a story about Patrick E. Walsh. Patrick E. Walsh is an accountant from Kilkenny, and he has some shocking excess debt figures, and that we'll talk about now in a while. And Ireland's Thinks poll, the state of the parties. And then we have a US billionaire whose massive funding grew pro-immigration NGOs into Ireland. And Freedom of Information documents reveal Cathal McGrath advised to defer Ryan Tubridy's salary questions in RTE. So let me just see, is Anto coming back? Is he back yet? Yeah, he doesn't seem to be. Okay, so. Are you there, Anto? Okay, shall I go ahead with the inflation? Government can't protect us. Okay, Anto, here's Anto back in. Are you okay now?
I think I'm okay, Paul. I think it was because I was
sound.
Yeah, perfect. It's because
your sound, mate. Okay, so as I said, we started off there with the government can't protect us. This ESRI. Okay, what's your views on that one, Anto?
I mean, surprise. I mean, like I've looked into the actual report itself, and we have a news talk. We have a Jack Quain who was actually paid for his journalism, looking for some, and he says on News Talk the government has decided to prioritize in the upcoming budget, as it can't protect everyone from the rising cost in living. So I think that the main crux of this is that we need to take home is that we're goosed. So this is sort of like a tip of the iceberg. If we have some muck journalist from newstalk.com in Irish politics going against the government's sort of regime and saying that the government can't protect everyone from inflation. Now, this is pre-budget, Paul, right? So we have some journalists pre-budget saying the government can't protect everyone and the budget is yet to come. So what that says to me is we're goosed. So there was a 7% decrease in the cost of living, I'll quote it. That's likely to have further eroded incomes. We've seen inflation of more than 7% a year, and probably going to be the same this year. So we're sort of starting to see the tip of the iceberg. We're goosed. I think
in other words,
the dollar's goosed, Biden's goosed, lefties are goosed. Go woke, go broke, and this is sort of the start of that starting to come. But I firmly believe this year, if not early next year, that the stock markets will collapse drastically, worse than in 08, 09, and we're going to get a even more Trojan horse of certain legislation and stuff. But I believe that this is just the start of a litmus test.
But what are the government's priorities there? I'm looking at that thing from Dr. Rowntree. It has to be more targeting going forward. So that means the people at low income get nothing, and they look after the people with high income because they're the ones that they look after. So again, we're catching up with what's going on in Europe at the minute. Like, you know what I mean? They reckon we've been poorer for all them years. You know what I mean? So we're only catching up that this is the way it should be. You know what I mean? Nah, that's not the way it should be at all.
Yeah, no, I have to say, I have no background on my street this evening because I'm in my parents' house. So I said to myself, where's the quietest place that I can have a conversation with Paul? and it's my parents' house in the box room, and it's very nostalgic for me because this is where I started off my journey in activism, from this box room behind me. And I went down, I skipped transition year. I was 17, and I said, I'm going to go in and see what this Occupy Dame Street thing is all about. And the whole Occupy Dame Street thing was an anti-capitalist thing, a movement. We had Occupy Wall Street, we had Occupy Dame Street, which I was a member of, the youngest member of.
Wasn't Stephen Bedford in there with you as well? Wasn't he there?
He was, yeah. And I was only talking to someone else that has been living with Stephen Bedford on a more recent basis. And so I was... The Occupy Dame Street movement was an anti-capitalist movement, which I was a member of, and I was with Stephen Bedford, and I've all the time in the world for Stephen Bedford in regards to his passion for activism. But I think he went too far left, and he's not able to sort of consolidate what he actually believes in. But just to come back there, going on a bit of a tangent. The whole thing about Occupy Dame Street was there was a question mark over the globalist capitalist regime. The banks have too much power. 99% of the population we wanted to represent. So the whole thing about Occupy Dame Street was we are the 99%, because at that time there was a metric out. 1% of the population of the planet controlled 92% of the wealth. So that number has actually increased. The 92% of the world's wealth has increased since 2010, 2011, since when I was a member of Occupy Dame Street. So gross market capitalism continues to go in that way. The rich have gotten richer. But Paul, where we did see the greatest influx of wealth from the poorest in society to the richest was, guess what? The pandemic, right? So we had the biggest influx of wealth, and I'm not even going to go over sources, where we had people who were brutalized. And we don't actually know the full extent of this, of what they did here. And, some people say the cabal did it purposefully or whatever the case may be. But either way, it does play into the hands of the globalists perfectly. So, surprise, surprise, we were given helicopter cash out to people. We have open border policies. We have the highest rate of the dole social welfare in the EU. And we've Tom, Dick and Harry coming unfiltered to Ireland. and we're being called racists for it. And they're going to get the kickback of this massive scam, Trojan horse by the World Health Organization and the World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab. And what we're seeing here is the start of it. So it's topic one here this evening, Paul, is only a tiny little flavor. This country hasn't seen anything yet, nothing, you know.
And if this pandemic treaty gets signed in December, we're all knackers. Because that's World Economic Forum, WHO, that's the whole lot of them, the UN, the whole lot coming together and doing the whole lot.
And I think this is what we see is in topic one here. We see some fella, Jack Quain, paid for a job, probably that he doesn't like on newstalk.com. Like, who in their right mind believes that muck? And Jack Quain, 10 to 8 in the morning on the 5th of September, sort of trying to introduce us to the idea that, lo and behold, this coalition, Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael and the Greens have failed you. And lo and behold, there is a massive crash coming. But I mean, my God, like, you know, us conspiracy.
Listen, we've been saying this.
We don't want to be right. We want to be wrong.
I've been saying this for 2 years about the crash, that this, that, and the other. I was looking at buying a house and this, that, and the other, and I thought, no, there's no way I'm going to put myself through that and have, like, I'm 54, so I'd only get a 10-year mortgage. So my mortgage would be, if I was to buy it, what would I buy? A 500 grand house? You get 300 for your own, 280 for your own.
You're talking to the wrong man. And listen, I'll tell you, I'm 31, Paul, and I mean, if you're saying that from your position, and you know, the one thing I won't be doing in this country is relying on fiscal policy, relying on the cabinet for my children's future. I don't have any children, Paul. I fully intend, I'm single, I fully intend to have a wife and kids and settle down and all that stuff. But I mean, at the moment, I think, you know, and I'm not blowing my own horn here, I'm 31 years of age. I don't see practically anyone else, even lefties, even anyone on the left. You know, we have Stephen Bedford live streaming himself, plowing his own car through peaceful protesters. We don't even need to touch on the topic. You know, do I need to kudos someone like that for speaking his mind? But where are the younger generations? And I think when I was in this room as a teenager, and I skipped fourth year, I was very young doing my leaving cert. I was a teenager for most of my first year in college, and I was the youngest in occupied Aim Street. But I mean, my heart goes out to people who are fooled by this whole thing that, you know, get the quickest degree you can, whatever it is. Don't, you know, it doesn't really matter. Go into a job if it's to do with anything to do with big government, big tech, you know, Meta, Facebook, off the office looks nice. What could go wrong, Paul? What could go wrong? And
Beer Card Fridays and all that stuff, you know. All these big companies do it, you know.
Take it from me, because when I was in third year, I knew my peers in third year, and then I skipped fourth year, so I knew the people in fifth year. So I left school knowing two sets of people, and I know where a lot of them have went and where a lot of them have not went, and what has worked for them and what has not worked for them. I've made a hell of a lot of mistakes in my life. I don't hide that. I live a public life. I have an engineering degree. I worked in an engineering company. I said, it's not for me. I'm an extrovert. Here I am, not getting paid for what I'm doing on the Irish Column or whatever else. But I mean, without it, I'd be dead if I can't exercise my right.
Well, now in saying that, none of us get paid. It's all voluntary.
No, we don't. No, sorry, that came across the wrong way. None of us get paid. No true Irish activist gets paid. The reason why I'm saying that, Paul, is this muck we're reading on topic one, newstalk.com, Jack Quain, he is getting paid for just introducing us to the idea that this government, well, we all know the government's collapsed and they're on their way out, but there is going to be a massive, huge economic catastrophe. And it's not only going to happen, it's already happening. It's just the media's sort of latency in terms of reporting on it. Glenn Beck is doing some stellar work.
He's brilliant. And the Blaze.
and he says it as it is. And I mean, the Biden fiasco is never mind how funny it is to see someone falling around in his 80s, Joe Biden. But I think, you know, the conservative stance on things, Trump will consolidate over there in the next election. They're trying to sort of bring in maybe, you know, Robert Kennedy Jr. But either way, I think things are going to swing our way, Paul.
Yeah.
The reason why I think things are swinging our way is because of maybe our next point here and our next topic, Paul, is because of because of sheer desperation.
Here we go. Yeah, the Fair City propaganda.
I'm gonna see if I can actually, because
let's see, can I play the video for a minute? Hang on, just bear with me there for a minute.
Yeah, I have to play that video, Paul, for the people that haven't seen it, because needless to say, the people who will be on the Irish column or on my channel or on Derek Flies or whatever the case may be, they're not going to be watching City.
Can I just play this? I'll just play this video first for a minute there.
Please do.
Yeah. And we'll see how this goes. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Anti-LGBT.
Are you serious? Yeah. You check out their website. It's unbelievable what they're starting. Like what? Trying to make out that the country's under attack from asylum seekers and refugees. And then on about how women and children are terrified to leave the house. There's loads of links. Proper hardcore. This is horrible. I hear about these groups. Yeah, I mean, they're set deep against each other. Things are saying about trans people. All sexist stuff. Apparently, women shouldn't be allowed to work once they have
have you ever heard so much crap in all your life?
I mean, it's so.
I have someone. Hold on a minute. I have someone waiting to come in. Strogie. I don't know. I hope it's Ferg. Just bear with me there.
Yeah, no, whatever.
Hello there.
Hi there.
Who's that?
Just joining in. You know, been following the Unto Boyle channel on Telegram. Not Irish though, so I do support your cause. So
okay, but how did you get in here?
Well, the link was shared on Telegram.
Oh,
I shared the link on Telegram, Paul.
Oh my God! But anyone can come in then if they want. You know what I mean? Okay, Strogie, how's things? How's things?
That's my fault, Paul. But you're the gatekeeper in regards to this. I haven't heard of Strogie's his name, but I suppose we.
I haven't either. But Strogie, you're on live there now. Is there something you want to say or tell us?
No, I'm just following that. So all good. Carry on.
All good. Right, I'll let you drop back out there, Strogie. Thanks very much for coming in to us. Cheers, mate.
So, for everyone, you can see, you know, real proper, no rehearsals, episode 1 here.
You shared the link. We can have every much of on.
That link is visible anyway, Paul, but I mean, is it or is it not?
Okay, let's get back to this Fair City thing. Like, I'm going to be honest with you. I can relate to Ferg because all of my friends and neighbours, that's how they think I am. They think I'm Fash Ferg. Fitzy's gone off his head. Fitzy's this, Fitzy's that. Just for speaking out about what he just said there, they're saying migrants are taking over the country and women and children are afraid to leave their house. Well, they're the women and children who are protesting outside these places. That's who these people are. Concerned parents. And RTE now trying to gaslight you now and put you through this crap. No, I'm not having it. I'd say they've lost millions of viewers over it, I would say. Then again, you have the ones that'll just go along with it and just say, yeah, that's him, Fitzy the far lefty, Fitzy this, Fitzy's that. And powers that be are trying to stop me doing what I'm doing. And they won't stop me. I'm telling you, they won't stop me.
Yeah, look, I'm sure you'll agree with me on this point. Look, there's plenty of people in, you know, haters. I've been on every social media platform. I get a comment from someone saying about this or claiming that I'm a racist or this, or just I don't give them any thought. I sleep. I don't look over my shoulder. I know a lot of great people like yourself, Paul, and so many others. And like, we must reiterate here about how dangerous this this cabinet coalition is, because they're on their way out. They knew they're on their way out even before the pandemic. In the last general election, they say Sinn Féin didn't run enough seats or whatever, but there was 100% someone that said, that approached the media and approached Fair City, or there was some backhander, there was someone paid for a Trojan horse in this extremely dangerous narrative that has been on Irish televisions. And it targeted, Paul, the most vulnerable, the people, and I'm sorry to say it, people who watch Fair City. People who watch Fair City and sort of believe narratives like this are the same people who believe that Ryan Subsidy knew nothing about the money in his bank account, and also believe that the next booster will allow them to go in and eat €9 meal deals with their granny or whatever else. And as funny as it may seem, it's a very extremely dangerous place to put your tentacles into, to try and brainwash elves and grannies around the country, to try and paint me as some fictitious Operation Ferg. And there's a runoff story with Ferg in a fictitious soap opera, right? A fictitious soap opera, and he was a thief, robbing something or a till or something. I don't know the ins and outs of it, and I'll tell you why, because it's fiction and I don't watch Fair City. But there are people who are so vulnerable that to taking in this muck, and then we have the likes of Fair City in bed with the government cabinet, the Irish cabinet, the currently sitting government cabinet, which are meant to represent the people, by the people, of the people, for the people. And this is how dangerous it's become. It's ironic his name's Fergal, because one of our great patriots.
Friend Ferg, Ferg.
And do you think, is that a coincidence, or do you believe in coincidences anymore?
No, that's what happened. I have Derek and Tommy there now to come on there for a few minutes. There,
brilliant. Absolutely.
Get on, lads.
How are you doing, Derek? Good to see you. How are you
doing?
Tommy?
I'm good.
Good.
How are you
doing, buddy? We're just talking about Fair City. We're talking about Fair City there.
Oh, yeah.
And how they called your man Ferg the Fash, and how a good friend Ferg, who was the man who's, who they're all after. You know what I mean? It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
I'm class.
Yeah.
How things?
Big chance anything, them fellas.
No, stop. I know.
Yeah.
How are you getting on?
Good. No, yeah, good.
You got the hair done.
Am I what? Sorry, Paul.
You got the hair done.
No, I actually need a haircut. That's why I'm rubbing it. It feels out of place. Usually I have it fairly tight.
You can email me a haircut there as well, Derek, while you're at it. Yeah.
Not a bother, ain't though. How are you keeping?
How are you getting on down below?
Right.
Everything good?
All
good, yeah. Good. Yeah, good now. Fairly busy, and things are ramping up here now as well. So we're just trying to keep tabs on all of it. And
I'm thinking of throwing my name back in the hat.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Those country people are made of different stuff than these doves, Derek, and
not this dub.
Not that. This. I just think there's more of a density there, that they're just standing up more down the country, the likes of you. And you put out a video today saying you're either a nationalist or you're an internationalist, and it struck a chord with me. And of course, we have so many great people up here in Dublin and Ferg to come on, and just so many. But I mean, the younger generations, I'm sort of worried about. I'd love to sort of be able to reach out to them and as much as we can, because I think they sailed us down shit creek and lit the boat on fire, and we're sort of used.
Yeah. Look, I don't know. Would I agree with you there with the difference between the Dubs and Cork folk? The Dubs have been showing the country how it's done. For the last almost 12 months now at this stage. Would you agree, Tommy?
Listen, the Dubs are putting us to shame, right? I'm a hardcore Cork man, right? And to me, in my own little head, Cork is the real capital, you know? Well, so I thought anyway. But for the past 12 months, the Dubs have been kicking arse, and that is the truth.
Yeah.
You've been leading the way, boys, and honest to God, no, some of the best men I know in this country are Dubs. And trust me, if I'm saying that right, it means something, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean it's just the numbers. I mean, I'm probably correcting myself. It's not about quantity; it's about quality, and a lot of things can change up here very quickly, and it's very hard to know because the truth's been hidden from us. And I just think that things are gonna we have some of these refugee centres now going into the likes of Dunleary. We were at protests out there and stuff like that. And these are areas of Dublin. These are and Ballybracken, so many of these places, and these are townlands that they know nothing about. They're more sort of boxed off, and they're not sort of. They'd be sort of insulated from reality more, and I think they're going to get more of a wake up call. I think what I was trying to maybe suggest was that the country people are hardier and maybe have more sense of the ground and reality and republicanism maybe, and what you were saying is the true capital being Cork or whatever, but that's not to take away from the great things that are happening. I just hope that we thought last winter was going to be bad, but I think this winter it's really going to come home that people are going to have to stand up,
Yeah.
I've seen towns down here in County Cork, right, and they have rolled over. I'm going to talk about, we say, just off the top of my head, Macroom town, a town of 3,000 people, right? Small. It's a pretty little town now, kind of heading into West Cork, And there was an asylum centre put there in one of the hotels back in 2016. Is that right, Derek, around that time?
Yeah, about 2016, yeah. Yeah, that's right, about 2016, yeah.
They came in overnight, the usual crack. There was a bit of murmuring around the towns. A few people were kind of concerned, but they were told by the local councillors, that they were great people for taking them in and fair play to you and all that. They got dog patted on the head, So because they were so good at taking one, they were given another one there recently, And
Yeah.
I know everyone seems to be going around grumbling and kind of giving out, and kind of huddle groups about it, but no one's doing anything,
No.
And like Macroom isn't the only place. I see it down here, outside Dublin. I see it in a lot of places, and it can be disheartening at times, But I don't think things have gotten bad enough yet. I mean, they're bad, but I think it's going to have to take people coming in your window now and basically raping your missus in front of you before Paddy gets his finger out and does something, And unfortunately, I don't want to be graphic about it.
Yeah, that's the only language he speaks. Sad,
Yeah.
I was looking at the videos. There was videos put up there yesterday on the Telegram channels of your man getting bashed for exposing themselves to the kids in or somewhere. Okay, look, that's going to happen.
I think.
They're doing nothing about it. They're doing nothing about it. And I was talking to a guard the other day, and he says to me, "Oh, I saw your last video there about the guards. I put it up. I was heading out to the SOYAC building, and I just said, listen, the guards know what's going on, and they're doing nothing about it, and they're in cohorts." And I did. And then, of course, he says to me, I looked your video, and how's that going? It's not going to go too well for you now. And, all this, the way to go on, you know what I mean? But,
well, I mean, imagine, shout out to the people who were, of the authorities that are in listening to us now, because they get paid for doing it. We don't, on top of that. But I mean, they're underpaid, they're underqualified, and I think that they know that things are going to change, and they're sort of powerless to what they can do. There are so many of the authorities that will sort of, follow orders and stuff like that. But we see retention rates at an all-time low. Morale is at an all-time low in the Gardaí.
The guards are leaving hand over fist.
And there's a question mark. Was there a question mark over the no confidence vote in the commissioner and whatever happened to that? But it just doesn't look great for them. It doesn't look great for us. I think a proper republic needs a proper police force that represents the republic. That's not what we have. That's not what we have at all. And they're in bed with the government, which are in bed with the globalists, etc., etc. We could go on about that, but I think one of the most starkest what we saw there was the manhandling of Fergus Power and Ballybrack, and I think that was sort of a way for the Gardaí to say.
Now that you say it, would you believe who's here? Hello there.
Hey.
How are you?
Hi, Phil. Hi, how are you?
That's the story.
How are you, buddy? We were just talking about that Fair City there, and I thought, why not have the man? You know what I mean?
I'm expecting my first royalty check this week.
I tell you, crazy. I tell you now, it's crazy stuff. How are you getting on, Ferg? How's things?
Oh, good, Paolo. We're just at the call that thing now for the 20th outside the door, and we're going to get a great response to it. So expecting a big number
out here as well. That's no problem. We pump out on the radio as well.
Yeah,
brilliant.
Yeah.
That's when they're back for it, isn't it? That's when they're back. Is there a certain time that they're going to be walking into that door on Kildare Street?
they're coming in at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So we're going to get out there for 10 o'clock that morning. Just get everyone. There's a lot of people down, but I'm not getting.
10 a.m. I'm just going to take that down. 10 a.m. 20th, Ferg, yeah?
Yeah.
Perfect. And that's
there you go. Anyone that's watching, 10 a.m. on the 20th of September, the doll is reopening. We need as many people as we can get there. There's no good sitting at home and thinking everyone is going to do it for you. You need to get out there and show the lads your support. I'll be there. I'm sure Anto will be there. I know Ferg will be there. The two lads are in Cork, I don't know. But hey, listen.
I'll be there.
Yeah, Derek will be there.
I'll be there.
We'll all be there. So please come out and help us. We need to show this government we need to show them that we mean business. That's it. End of story. They need to stop this shit. Immigration stuff and everything. All this LGBT crap. It's all being pushed by NGOs. We know what it's being pushed by, and that's what we need to do. Defund NGOs, get enough of us into the doll and defund these NGOs, and this country will be a lot better place.
Yeah. That's the truth.
Yeah.
And make sure
that's a good message anyway, you know.
Can I ask you, Ferg, were you Enoch Burke, have you heard any more? Were you anything happening?
Haven't heard that, Paolo. I haven't heard that today.
Thursday or something, was it?
I tell you one thing, that man has fucking these balls of steel. As I swear to God, he's unbelievable, isn't he?
Oh, he's right. He's right. But that's what it's going to come down to here, Ferg. Everybody is going to get charged for something. Every one of us on this screen is going to get charged for something. You're charged. Tommy's probably charged. Derek is charged. Sure, I'm charged now as well. Anto was the only one that's not. So,
well, I mean,
well, I don't know. It's not a good club to be in. It's not a good club to be in, to be honest with you.
Good question. I mean, listen to me, say la vie, but I won't be stopping anyway. And I mean, there's no question, shape or form that, you know, your right to freedom of speech, freedom of expression, right of public assembly, etc. Like, we have Helen McEntee's hate speech bill shelved until October, which is next month. She's
still
certain now that
definitely be getting it in. It will be coming in.
And then she said that she's certain enough it'll be gotten in by the end of the year. So she's not even certain now what will happen when the dog gets back sitting. So I mean, this whole charade, and I mean, I think we're really on the winning side here. I mean, we've the lefties who are silent. We have them ploughing cars through peaceful protesters. We've this fictitious fellow called Fergal on Fair City. And what else do we have on the left? I mean, there's nothing there. Like, we're here. We have, you know, Derek doing stellar work down there. So many others. We have so many of these far right fascist Nazis or whatever else on the right side of the history, conspiracy theorists, which are deemed right every single time. So, like, we are going to prevail, and I know it might seem, wishful thinking at this moment, but there are more people waking up. There are more people who are saying, okay, Anthony, you worry about this or that, or maybe we should start to listening to the Irish column about certain things, and everything we've said has come true. We don't want it to come true. We're fighting for for freedoms that we want our children and our grandchildren to deserve. Because if we let these globalists via the cabinet, the World Health Organization, the World Economic Forum, to walk all over us, and to let them Trojan horse this muck via Operation Ferg on Fair City, they've no conscience, they know no bounds. They're in the wrong, we're in the right, and it's just that's it. We must start to consolidate more, be on here every Sunday, keep doing what we're doing, and try and rally the troops. And we are going to be there on the 20th at 10 a.m. on Kildare Street. So there's so much happening. I'm losing track of what's actually happening. There's too much happening.
Yeah.
On our side, it's impossible to keep up. There's too many events.
Yeah, you're right there, Anto. People definitely are staying busy, and it's a good sign. But people always say things aren't changing. There's not enough happening, but things are changing and things are happening, but they're happening slowly. So, our job is to kind of mobilize people, put the message out, keep people informed about what's going on, keep the message relevant in their head. You would think that what's going on would automatically be relevant. We live in a society where there's so many distractions. People get sidelined with football and whatnot. But it's the job of content creators to keep churning it out and keep updating people right on what's happening. And the events then on the street. Hopefully, we can mobilize.
A shout out to you, Derek, and your team that I know, Ireland First. You guys have a new political party set up. Like, you'll be getting my vote, and it.
Hold on, you ain't going with Anto. Hold on now. Hold on, wait a minute.
I mean, I would consider myself apolitical. I mean, that's the truth of it. So I think that there is a political vacuum, and I think people are looking for someone to vote for or not vote. So, a lot of people had a protest vote in the last election, and by all means, I'm not using this channel, Paul, for any political means or apolitical, or whatever. Like, I don't have a clue. We're on the right side of history, and there's just such a vacuum in terms of the political establishment. Like, the Greens are gone, right? The Green Party are gone.
We hope they're gone anyway.
Yeah.
They're gone.
We hope they're gone.
I'm going to be honest. Derek said it here on the show. Probably.
I'm not going on to sell Derek's political thing. I'm just saying what as it is.
I'm just saying what Derek said on the show here in June or July. I don't know when it was, Derek. Like, I have friends who know what's going on, and they won't march, they won't come out, they won't do anything. But as Derek said, they will vote. And if there's somebody there to go on the ballot that's against the establishment, they will vote against them. And I'm a firm believer of that now, because I've seen it. I've been talking to people and they've told me,
Yeah. But at the same time, we need to give them a good option. We need to give them a good option. And there's an awful lot of good people out there who haven't come forward. And there's an off. Just 1 second there, I went on. there's an awful lot of people who will stand for election, but could be replaced by a better option who has decided that he doesn't want to run for whatever reason. But people need to realise that we're at a point here in this country that if we don't make change here really, really fast, we're going to run out of time. We're you know, they're piling this on now. They're piling it on at breakneck speed, and they're piling people into the country who will vote against us.
Of course.
They don't have general election voting rights yet, but Helen McEntee, that absolute lunatic, is handing out passports like there's no tomorrow. And these people are not going to vote for Paul. They're not going to vote for Anto or Tommy or Ferg or myself. They're going to vote for them, and they're going to vote for their way of life. And their way of life does not line up with us for the most part. So this is a fight for Ireland.
Yeah, big time, yeah.
It's a cultural war.
It's just sorry, Tommy, go ahead, Tommy, go on.
Oh, yeah, no, I was just saying, I've been reading reports there that Leo Varadkar reckons he's got another 2 elections in him, you know? Yeah. And you'd wonder, like, for a guy he's probably the most hated man on the island of Ireland, I'd say after Cromwell, he's probably the most hated man. How he's so cocksure that he's got another 2 elections left in him, you know? You'd wonder, have they got it set up such a way that he knows he'll have 2 more elections left in him? He intends on leading Fine Gael into the next election, if not the next 2 elections.
You see, Tommy. You see, Tommy. He said that. He said that after I left the Irish Freedom Party. That's what it was. I took back. He thought he had it in the bag then, but I'm trying to throw me half head back in there now. So I don't know what I'm doing yet, but I will do.
Is he in your constituency, Paul? Yeah.
Yeah. So was O'Gorman.
Is he? Oh, is that right? Really?
Yeah. O'Gorman, Paul Donnelly, Sinn Féin. I'd say Paul Donnelly got back in. Listen, he's a good. Listen, he's an all right guy. You know what I mean? It's just Sinn Féin's policies are shit. That's all. You know, I've no beef with any of them. It's just the policies of the parties are shit.
Yeah.
They need to go.
I'm sure there's good skins in a lot of them, but I think there's going to be a lot of people that are in the political sphere in Ireland that are sort of thinking that they're good people, they have good intentions, and they've got they want to be involved in politics to change Ireland, and then they just sort of woke up there in the last couple of months and realised that they're a member of the Green Party or they're a member of Fianna Fáil, and they're like, oh, Jesus, I'll run as independent, or will I jump to a different ship or whatever. So I think it's a very interesting time in Irish politics, just as an observer, like just to follow it, because the current establishment and cabinet are on their way out. They're silent. I haven't heard anything from, we've heard from McEntee, which is the last one. Donnelly, in terms of Minister for Health, we haven't heard anything from him. I can't remember the last time I've seen anything live from Eamon Ryan. He's completely incompetent. Like, he's ruined everything. Like, nothing that they can do at this stage can save them. Everything that they do plays into us sort of conspiratorial, far-right, fascist, like the right side of history. But it's verging on funny, never mind entertaining, as they leave the stage, because they're not able to hold up their hands and say, listen, I butchered the whole thing. Sorry, I shouldn't have ever gotten involved in politics. I'm out of my depth. I should have never gotten involved in politics during a pandemic. I'm very sorry, very sorry. Good luck, and write a book and sell it and leave. But I mean, the current political establishment, plus the likes of that crook, Dr. whatever his name is, I'm actually glad I forgot his name.
Luke O'Neill, is it?
Luke O'Neill and subsidy, and then you've this whole Fair City thing. It's all rotten and it's all fallen down. It's not only the cabinet, it's the whole coalition, the trilogy of them, plus everyone else. There's none of them that are going to be saved in this. None. They're all going to go.
I don't know, Anto. This green agenda, the 2030 agenda, that could keep them in there. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, Eamon Ryan is an incompetent man, but like, you know what I mean? Europe is going to keep him in there. I don't know. I just feel it that way. That
if they fake the vote, if they fake a vote or something, like, I mean, if that man gets in, where is he in North? He's in North Dublin or Rathdown or whatever. But I actually don't know. But I don't think anyone in their right mind. I think people in their wrong mind who watch Fair City might vote for him. But I actually genuinely don't think that even they will. The Greens are gone. Like, I've talked to people in the middle, never mind the left. I've talked to lefties who say they're gone. Even the left, the hard left, far left, I know people in the same circles as Stephen Bedford, blah, blah, blah. I haven't talked to that man face-to-face since, but none of them are, we all know that the establishment are on their way out. Everyone knows that. The most inept lefty knows the current political establishment are on their way out. Like, you know, we might even have a Fair City episode of Eamon Ryan leaving, you know, like, who knows? It's that bad. Like,
getting chased out by Ferg.
It's something like actually, that's not a bad thing, lads. We should make our own soap opera. How is it?
We have the radio. We can do all that now. We can have we can do all that. Ferg, I'm gonna bring you in, Ferg, for we're gonna do a new Gladiator, and you're gonna be doing it. Yeah, the Irish Gladiator.
I wouldn't mind the thing that he's on a point.
What were you saying? Sorry, Ferg.
I was just saying that hit piece he done on prime time a few weeks ago. Brilliant. It's like he said all the quiet bits out loud. It was mad.
Yeah, it was brilliant. Brilliant it was. I think that was the last time we done the live show, wasn't it, Derek? Yeah, it was that week because Ross LaHoy was on as well. Do you remember?
That's right, yeah. That's right, yeah. Yeah.
They're doing great work too. But again, they're bringing that out in Fair City. They're even going after books and libraries, and everyone knows that.
Yeah.
It's happening everywhere. You know.
And sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's like your man here down in Cork who writes that fucking online thing that Cork BO.
Yeah.
What's his name? Joe O'Shea. This is the guy, you know, who was saying that you shouldn't be allowed into supermarkets unless you were jabbed and all this, you know. Pure establishment head, like. But he was trying to make out there after we had a rally there in town there a couple of Saturdays ago. It was the Cork Says No rally, but they kind of frame it like it's you know, you're anti-library. That's actually what he said. We're anti-library and anti-book, you know. But like, why don't they actually say what it's actually about?
Yeah, they don't.
That's it. Because they fucking know, right? They have no argument against us. They will not stand up to one single argument. We would wipe the floor with them every single time. All they can do is either
shout
or call us names or just like hit us with a fucking hate speech law. They can't stand up to scrutiny. They couldn't hold an argument with any single one of us. You know what I mean? If I was there for 12 points, I'd still debate the best of them, and that's the fucking truth. You know?
I was listening to the Lord Mayor singing. Fucking hell, man! What's
don't remind me of that, Paul, will you?
Paul. For our viewers, can you try in the next couple of minutes get up a video of him singing? And I actually forgot about that. To how unhinged someone can be. Like we've seen Mick Brazel, the Irish guy, speaking the truth since day one, and we've seen some unhinged lefty. We've seen some unhinged lefty. It's very hard not to laugh. But that fella who was the Lord Mayor of Cork with a medallion around his neck and singing like this is I know I've been called a maniac by people who were probably listening into this who know me from 10 or 15 years ago who I give no thought to. But to think about there's actually a man who can be the Mayor of Cork and also get away with doing this is I still haven't wrapped my head around that. Like, I mean, the footage, Paul. I mean, if you
I couldn't believe it. I'm just looking for it there now. I couldn't believe it when I seen it. I thought, what the?
It needs to be blasted out again.
He thought he was Howard Keel or something, didn't he?
It's beyond.
For the younger people, Howard Keel was an old actor. He was in Dallas and all that, you know.
Shout out to Ross LaHoy. We might try and get it on as well.
Oh, well, Ross, Ross will come on. Ross is grand. I just didn't contact Ross this week. We had a few on, so.
But what I'd like to know is, right, with the new CCTV footage of the mayor grabbing his phone and flinging it across the street, how are they going to try to frame this now going forward? Because he had already come out and he said that first he denied that he did anything, and then he said that he felt threatened. Okay, but how can you grab a phone the way he did and fling it the way he did because you feel threatened? It's going to be interesting to see how they're trying to frame this now going forward, right? Because they are going after Ross.
Of course, yeah.
Because of this. So it's look, you know, we don't need to make our own soap opera because it's a soap opera in Ireland every day. You know, we're living in one, yeah.
Absolutely. But like, yeah, he's allegedly, and I say allegedly, he was on something, but you would know, you know. I mean, like,
if he wasn't, he'd need to get on something.
You know what I mean? Like, he was going around there like something out of Harry Enfield, but he's this kind of a pea cap on his head and a gold chain, and just start bursting into song, you know. But like,
he didn't know what to do. He didn't know what to do. So I think that was his boyish, childish, desperate self who knew he was going to go viral anyway, and there was nothing that he could have done. So he turned around, and lo and behold, there was Ross LaHoy there, and he knew he would be served a very, very straightforward question that he should have a very simple answer to, but that he didn't. So as he was trying to think up of this answer that he didn't, that it would never come to him, he just started singing.
Yeah.
And
he's not a bad singer now. I'll give it to him. He's not a bad singer.
Like, when I was sort of do this or something. Like, listen, I think it was his way of sort of coping with the situation, but it made it so funny because it looked like he's the last man in Ireland who did cope with the situation, and it's gotten so public and gotten so viral. I just think it's evident of how farcical this whole thing is. I don't even know how the Lord Mayor system works or how they're voted in. I must look into it and I'll take a note down. But
I think they're just appointed.
That's the quality of who's representing the people down there in Cork. That's the quality of it, folks.
Yeah. But just the contrast then, like, he burst into song on the street, but after the altercation, when Ross followed him into the building, he sat on that chair, and there was no more theatrics. There was no more big boy act. He was trembling. He was trembling, and he looked like an 8-year-old, right, who's after being sent to the principal's office, and it shows that the whole street performance was exactly that, a big performance. You know? Whatever he took to act like that on the street, he definitely had come down right by the time he got into the building, because he looked like someone that was strung out from war, you know? So
Can I just I've one or two more topics just to go on to here, Tommy. Just for a second now, I just wanted to say this guy, Patrick E. Walsh, he's an accountant from Kilkenny.
Oh yes,
not Ashling or Loughlin, the whole lot. But he has put together some startling death rates. You know, the total number of deaths up until August this year is 24,956.
Right.
That's just for this year. So that's for excess deaths for the year to date in August. Now, when I say excess deaths, it's extra deaths, not excess. It's extra. 4,100. Okay. And the rate of excess deaths for the year is 19.7 for this year alone, and we're only 8 months into it. And last year, I think it was 14,600 excess deaths in 2021. Now, Jesus, we're double that nearly.
Things
You know what
are
I mean?
going according to plan. Things are going
I
according
think
to
it is
plan,
going according to
I
plan.
say.
And if anyone, like, listen, I know people. I know someone close to me lives from an island and the whole lot, and this, that, and the other. The amount of people who have died down there is ridiculous. You can't just write this off anymore. You know what I mean? These are people who were walking a 5-mile loop walk twice a day, and then all of a sudden they got vaccinated, and couldn't do this, cancer, they got this, they got that. It's happening, and unless people wake up and fucking see this, like Leo Varadkar is gaslighting us. Oh, the excess deaths. No, it's not that bad. It's not that. There's an accountant has come up and done this. 4,100 extra deaths in 8 months compared to the 5-year average. You know.
So I'll just, Paul, I'll come in there and I'll just get, this would be my forte in regards to, I've been following this data globally. Dr. John Campbell has been doing some crunching of these numbers.
Bless you, Frank.
So just for listeners out there who mightn't understand what an excess death figure is, Ireland normally knows how many people die every day, every week, every month, every year on average. So let's say it's 1,000 people a week die in Ireland every year from every illness, car crashes, cancer, you name it, everything, right? So during the pandemic, we would expect, obviously, for the excess death figures from COVID-19, from the virus, whether it was released from the Wuhan lab or not, we would expect it to rise, and it did. However, when the deaths from the COVID virus were dropping, all of a sudden we get a spike in the excess death figure that perfectly coincide with the administration of the COVID-19 vaccine. So there is no argument about it. What is causing these excess deaths of an increase of 18.9% on top of what we would expect, not from COVID. So I must reiterate, these deaths are not from COVID-19, are not from the current variants that they're going to lock you down with. These are not from COVID-19. These are other excess deaths. So the only other explanation is these are caused from the administration of the COVID vaccine or stresses caused from social experiments like the lockdowns, etc., etc. So an 18.9% in the UK, for an example, and harping on about it, that equates to about 2,000 to 2,500 people, excess deaths who were dying from the COVID-19 vaccine every single week. So 1,800 people, 1,900 people died in 9/11, right? So every week there's 2,500 people dying from the COVID-19 vaccine. And so that's just to put it into the minds of these people, how serious this is. But of course, how they distract us away from focusing on excess deaths from the COVID-19 vaccine, what they'll actually try and do is say, no, this is still from the vaccine, take more vaccines. That's how dangerous they are. That's the same hymn sheet as Operation Ferg on Fair City, World Economic Forum, Helen McEntee, Cabinet. It's all the same. Globalism. It's extremely dangerous. And I want people to know how dangerous that is. You know? There's so many innocent that have died because of it. Oh, sure, it's grand. It's not grand.
Yeah.
It's not grand.
No. Like these people were told this will stop transmission, it'll stop this, it'll stop that.
Silver bullet.
It's done nothing. Now, and we have no COVID vaccine injury patients in this country. None. But we all know we have. Ferg stands with 2 or 3 people outside the Pfizer building every Monday. There's another girl, her mother died. There's another fella, his sister died that I didn't know about. I only spoke to him a few weeks ago. Like, these are all people.
I can give you a list of people that I know, friends that I've known since I was a kid, that are literally probably watching me a couple of doors up, a couple of doors down, who have taken it and who tell me on a regular basis of side effects that they get. Visual snow, they get these extremely weird sensations that they're uncomfortable in their own skin. Their loss of focus. There's a lot of eye stuff going on. People are losing vision in one eye or this or that. Like, I mean,
there's a lot of people.
And I know there's people who are thinking, oh, the pandemic is over and I'll just move on with your life. There are these people who were duped, that took it and took more and took the booster and another booster and another booster, and they're not going to say anything. So I think it's people like us who have a little bit of reach on social media. We must speak out for these people. But we're not against them for taking it. We're trying to stand up and to give a voice to the vaccine injured, as Barry from Wake Up Air, like Barry from Wake Up, as you all know, guys, and I hope to God and him and Tina out there listening to me now, that the work that they do is absolutely stellar. And I mean, just trying to give a voice to the people who were injured from this emergency use medicine, and they'll never be forgotten, you know, like, and it's just so sad.
They should be reimbursed for what has happened to them. They should be.
Like in the UK,
in the UK. If you die, if your partner dies or your wife dies in the UK, you get 120 grand. That's the price of a life now in the UK. You know, so how, you know, sorry, Fred, were you going to say something there a minute ago? Sorry, when I said that you'd be with that couple and the whole lot.
Oh, but Barry, no, I was going to say to me, my wife was on that RIP, that was it? The other night, right? And shocking, Paula. You want to see the amount of young people gone? It's absolutely disgraceful. These all have to be held to account. Simple as that.
Of course they do. Yeah. The amount of cancers are gone through the roof. The amount of people I know who got the all clear from cancer and died 6 months after from the vaccine, I know for a fact. We all know what it was. You know what I mean? And we're being gaslit. No, that didn't happen. That didn't happen. And people are being silenced. And these people know what's going on. These people aren't stupid, and they know they were duped, as you said, and they're hardly going to tell you, oh, you were right, or Fitzy was right, or they only have to look and they'll know how right I am. You know what I mean? The people are dying. That's it. End of story.
And there's going to be continuing, like, we're just going to have to, we're going to be continuing. And it's great here, Paul. I think today went absolutely amazing with me and you. I've known Derek for quite some time, and that stuff from Ferg and all the rest. It went better than I expected. We all know each other sort of online and blah, blah, blah.
It's just a couple of guys shouting the breeze.
We're never, ever, like, you know, you think of a world where you've Fergus Power retiring from who he is and giving up on his children and his future, or Derek, or you, or me, or anyone else, right? It's just not happening. There might be these people on the road in conservative politics, or, you know, who were in Sinn Féin, who say, oh, I'll dip my paw into that pond to see if I'll get involved in politics and blah, 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 and they got scolded or whatever else. We're not going away. We're not going away. And,
we're not going away.
We're going to have to get used to the fact that this fella is not going away. This conspiracy theorist who you deemed to be a danger to your granny was right all along. I'm not looking for any recognition of anyone. I don't give any attention to any haters or whatever else. It's just people need to be reminded that the conservatives, the right wing or the far right or whatever, who we are, the people on the right side of history are consolidating big time, and we're starting to get to know each other more. Me and you, Paul, have got to know each other with. And another shout out to AJ, he was running everything behind the scenes at the moment. What a bloke. And, you know, tirelessly we've built up topics to discuss, and there's so much that happens behind the scenes, even from this one episode. And, you know, and we're not going away. Like, and people must realize the data's there. We knew it was always going to be there and tough. You're just going to have to sort of either swallow your pride or man up or drop your balls or whatever needs to be done. But we're not going away. Like, that's a certainty. And I mean, it's very certain from our side. And when people sort of venture into the far right thing and listen to the videos that Derek releases on his channel, Ferg releases on his channel, and the others, they realize, whoa,
We all share everything.
we
Everything.
haven't even started, like, you know.
Yeah, I was watching a clip there the other day. Now your man's name escapes me. Some English guy, you know, but he reckons globally, right, since the vaccine was rolled out, he reckons that as a direct result of the shot, 20 million people have died.
Yeah.
Now, allegedly 53 million died in World War II, right? That's what they tell us, right? We're already heading to half that amount since the beginning of 2021 already, and there's not a murmur about it from the MSM. Nothing. I was actually reading something there that I think they were giving out the swine flu vaccine back in the 70s, and I think 35 people died globally, right? And they
51,
pulled
it
this
was
thing straight away.
51.
Yeah.
51, okay, I stand corrected, 51. But nevertheless, 51 and 20 million, there's a bit of a difference there, you know? And they have no intention. I mean, like, they've the brass neck to come back on and start pushing this thing. No, I don't know how they're going to convince the same amount of people to take this rubbish. Because I tell you,
they will. I know someone who's queuing up for it already, waiting for it.
Well, there's always going to be one or two, you know. But I think a lot of people, you know, that I've been speaking to since, right, and I can speak to them much easier these days than I could 2 years back. You know, they're listening now, right, and they're in agreement. They're in quiet agreement, but they're not taking anymore. They're definitely not down for lockdowns. They're definitely not down for masking. So, like, look, we all know the government need to lock us down, and they need to use whatever rules they can to do that. But I don't think the COVID scaremongering is going to fly anymore, you know? Well, you know what the fuck they're going to do this time, you know?
Yeah, I'll just tell you something, Tommy, right? And I'll just, you're saying, you're referring to people that are starting to wake up, etc. And just I must give a shout out to someone that is listening in now that I love very much, Carmen Miller, a great friend of mine. And I know a lot of her community, and I'm a volunteer. She's essentially blind, and she's a great friend of mine, and also an ex-refugee from South Africa who was paid her taxes in this country for 20 years. But she saw what was going on, and if someone like that, if someone with a heart of gold like that, and who struggles to see the phone in front of her face, knew what was going on at the start of this scam. When we met in the city centre, it was like we were always going to meet, but we were on the same page. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, we came from such different backgrounds. How did we come? And I just thought, wait a second, the truth is what is the overlying set here. So I think no matter what background you're from or whatever else, I think that it's the truth that will prevail, has prevailed. It's the only thing that is going to prevail. And I think that there are more people waking up every day, and for them to try and quench and to not recognize, like for Stephen Donnelly, I'll put it like this: for Stephen Donnelly, the Minister for Health, to be silent about the excess deaths. And I asked this man, and there's videos of me shouting at him from outside Dáil Éireann, have you anything to say, Stephen, about the excess deaths? And I had to actually chase several RT reporters and Virgin Media reporters. Have you anything to say? None of them had anything to say.
No.
Like, if you have something to say it. But none of them have anything to say. And as Stephen Donnelly walked around in a circle pretending to be on his phone, he has this marvelous thing that he pretends.
Saw the video,
even to the media and to the Irish Inquiry and stuff, he has this thing, he pretends to be on the phone, and it looks horrifically fake. It's like, you know, Operation Ferg and Fair City is more believable, and they're horrific actors. But I mean, Stephen Donnelly just looks fake, is fake. You know, he's built a fake. There's something righteous about that man, and it may burn in hell along with Luke the Duke O'Neill. But I mean, it's just so sad that why can't he just hold up his hands and say, okay, there's an excess death figure here that I can't put my finger on. I'm going to have a public think tank in relation to it. I don't know, because it's such a pressing issue. It's 1,500 people or 1,000 people or 2,000 people a week as it is, or 2,500 as it is in the UK, make a comment on it. And they're being dragged through the political establishment over there to try and actually talk about it. And I mean, how dare they ever put their paw in politics and not stand for the death of innocent people on such a grand scale?
But you only have to look at Andrew Bridgen. Andrew Bridgen, the MP in the UK, he spoke out about it on the 9th of December in the Parliament. And that man has been shunned. He's been thrown out of the party. He's been doing this. And he's the only one that's talking about it. The same with John O'Looney. John O'Looney is the Undertaker guy from Milton Keynes.
Brilliant.
He's been talking about this since the pandemic started. He said there was no deaths from COVID. None. He said, and now what he's seeing is colossal amount of deaths of babies, newborn babies. He said that this was a few months ago. He was talking about this, and it seems the NHS now are burying the kids. They're not going out to tender, because what used to happen was if someone was 18 died or something like that, or a child died, your man John O'Looney, they wouldn't charge. That's the deal they had. If it was a child, they wouldn't charge. So now it was getting put out to tender. We used to get put out to tender, to see who was going to take it. Now the NHS are cremating the kids themselves. So there's nothing going out to the public, and they're not being told how many's dying. This is from his mouth. He's an undertaker. He's seen it. And these other guys, there was other undertakers last year were talking about fridges full of babies.
What more do they want? What more? Do you have the data? Do you have the Pfizer's data?
Sorry, Ferg. Sorry. Hang on. Sorry. What you say, Ferg?
Paul, I wait the bounce, mate. They don't need me solicitor, right? I'm up in court on Wednesday.
Thanks very much for coming on. We're going to finish up in a few minutes, and anyway, I've just another one or two things to talk about, and then Ferg, thank you very much. As always, you're a gentleman, and I will see you soon, mate.
Take it easy, Ferg.
Cheers, keep on
easy,
Cheers,
keep on pushing that thing for the 20th, right? Keep on pushing it.
Yeah.
It'll be everywhere. Thanks, mate.
Thanks a million.
There he is, Ferg. One of the good guys. Yeah.
Yeah. Good lad.
We're all the good guys, But I wanted to go back to that Fair City thing about your woman, the one that's in that show. Okay. Her name is Roxana Nilim or something like that. And she is into all this pro-mass immigration. She's in the NGOs and all that shit. She set up the East Wall for all. Do you remember that a few months ago?
Yeah.
To East Wall, yeah. She set that up, and she was even invited on the RT to push that. You know what I mean? But the people of East Wall were wide to it. The people know all about it. You know what I mean? So she's an NGO. Did anyone see the picture of her? Hatred for Garda rats. Did you see the picture? She got a picture from years ago where I hate Garda rats. Garda rats is wrote.
It's all right.
Yeah. Was that beside a grave or something? She was beside a grave. Someone that was after dying, and she was pictured beside a grave. But I mean, I'm just trying to think of. I'm trying to put into words about who and what this person is. I mean, in reality, who approached her? What was said to her? How was she tricked? How was she swindled into creating this East Wall for all, going on to this Fair City? And then she's silent now. Why is she silent? She knows it didn't work. She feels like she was duped. Who does she feel she was duped by? Who was she approached by from the political establishment? Was it someone from RTE? Who was it? So what happened here? It's like, we have the Fergal, the fun story here, but there's something more sinister going on, and it's a desperate government cabinet to try and make me and Derek and you, Paul, and everyone that's involved in politics that the majority agree with. With the Red City poll, the majority of people agree with what we say. The majority. The majority. It's just doesn't happen that we don't have the money and the power of the outgoing government. That's all. So we are on the righteous side, and she was used and abused by someone from that has tarnished her image, her reputation. That, like, her name is, let me see, Roxana Niglin. Like, she's goosed. Like, she can't eat popcorn in a cinema anymore. Like,
Yeah, it's like the Truman Show, isn't it? It really is. Like, but they'll use everyone they can to try and get you to think a certain way. And like, if you had any doubts about this, I think that episode of Fair City woke a shit ton of more people up. It was so ludicrously obvious what they were trying to do. You couldn't miss it. You couldn't not notice it. Like, you know what I mean? And like the fact that they were coming after Ferg, I think Ferg should take it as a compliment. To be honest with you, the fact that they went to that much trouble, they even called him Fergal. I mean, come on, like, so it just goes to show, right, the impact that one man can have. But that's it. Like, they're just sad, pathetic people. Yeah.
But we go on to that. Just talking there now about NGOs. Okay, there's an NGO here. I'll just pull it up there for a minute. US Billionaire. That's the last one we do. Funding group pro-immigration NGOs in Ireland. Yeah. Chuck Feeney.
That's where the money is, Paul.
That's where the money is. Exactly, that's where the money is. And that's what's being pumped in there. And I'll tell you, I was at, if you remember, do you remember they had the state NGO Christy Moore thing here in Dublin?
Yeah.
I was at a thing. Ruth Coppinger did a thing down in Ashtown here. It was about 3 weeks before the actual thing. And I was there video, and they didn't know who I was. They copped who I was fairly rapid when they see me putting the thing up and whatever. And all she spoke about was, we need to get all the NGOs, all the unions, all the student bodies to come out on the 19th of whatever. And everybody saw what they did. They bust people from Achill Island, from Mayo, from Connemara, from Donegal. These people were all paid to be there. And if they got 5,000, if they had 5,000 there, I don't think they had. I think we had more the day we were there for the bank holiday. We had about 5,500 that day. And we filled that, and we took pictures of that. And then when we looked at their pictures, nothing. I'd say if they had 3,000, 4,000 maybe, But that's all.
Yeah.
We're paying them to come out and protest us. We're paying for that.
Absolutely, Paul. Look, I'll just break it down. There might be a lot of people wondering what an NGO is. It's a non-governmental organization, which would represent, the working conditions of, let's say, people like electricians, for example. We have the SIPTU and stuff like that. However, they're meant to be non-governmental. They're meant to be of their own, organization, etc. But the way in which this scam is that the government can fund NGOs like lobbyists for their own ill-gotten gains. So just here, I'm on a Gript media article here. There's 30,000 different entities, different NGOs that are generally registered as charities in Ireland, of which employ over 160,000 people and account for around 6 billion, which is 6,000 million, 6,000 million euros per year in public spending, in taxpayer spending. How the fuck how are they non-governmental organizations?
Yeah.
To the tune of 6,000 million euros a year. What's that? A couple of million euros a day.
I looked into this. Last year, okay, with different NGOs. Myself and Ting looked into it, and we the one crowd that comes up all the time in every one of them is Pubble. It's called Pubble. It means people in Ireland. Pubble looks after all of the money that comes from Europe into the government, and they send it back out to the government. How is that not a government organization?
Yeah.
That's actually strange. It's actually strange that you say Pubble, because my blind friend Carmen, I think that Pubble they sort of pretend now that I'm starting to think that that they're blind. They're a charity that represent the blind, but
every NGO in this country, Pubble has a part of it. Pubble is something to do with it. When you look down through whoever it is that's funding it or that's running it or whatever, Pubble is there on nearly every NGO in this country. Every one of them. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah,
unreal.
Who are these people? Like, you know, like.
Okay, we'll finish up now in a couple of minutes. Do you want to say anything there about the party or anything, Derek, or what you're doing or anything like that?
The last few weeks now, we've been flat out getting the website up, and it's fully up now. We had a lot of updating to do, and a lot of bits and pieces needed to be sorted out. But the website's up and running. We've got merchandise on there. So if you want any Ireland first gear, it's all there to be got. And we're just focusing now on local elections for next June. So we're canvassing. We have people canvassing all over the country. We're speaking to a lot of people, and we're focusing on locals now, and just tipping away and doing our bit. But look, it's hard work, but thanks to Tommy as well. Tommy does serious work in the background with all the
great work. Yeah, he's doing great work.
Yeah. Brilliant. With all the candidates and everything, and he's the national organizer now for the party, and he takes a huge amount of weight in work off of me,
I had to make up a job title just to give me something to do, because otherwise I'd be only pressing my bollocks, But to be fair now, right, I want to give a big thanks to Ali, Sarah, Monica, Anita, and all the Derek, of course, and all the people, who are either on the street being active, or they're out leafleting and canvassing, or just throwing out content there and all that, getting the website ready. It's tough going, but just as you're on about NGOs there, right, and we were working this out there a few weeks back, we reckon if we got rid of the NGO system, I mean, because like most of them are working against the best interest of Ireland anyway. If we had 2 years worth of NGO money, right, we could solve the housing crisis in this country within 2 years. Obviously, it'll take longer than that to build all those houses, but 12 billion would comfortably sort it out. So that'll just tell you, right, that these parasites, and that's all they are of no benefit at all. We're just throwing money down a black hole with these people, and it could be just money better spent. And that's what Ireland First are intending on doing if we ever get a shot at it. They'll be one of the first groups who we'll be coming after,
Yeah, definitely.
All they are is just a bunch of ugly actors, and that's basically it. You know what I mean? So
30,000, 6 billion. Like, I mean, look, I'm useless with numbers, but that is just that's ridiculous. I mean, if a fraction of that was put into,
but lads, you have to. This is what you have to think about. This is what you have to think about. This is what you're fighting against. You're not just fighting against a politician, or you're fighting against 8 billion a year. They don't want to let that go. They don't want to let that go. And if by us getting into power, that's the first thing that we will do. Get rid of them, but they don't want us in there. That's what they're going to try everything to throw at us, so as we'll stop. And I won't stop.
Yeah.
Being honest with you.
No,
we're never going to stop anyway.
No.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. We haven't backed out yet, lad, so it won't be happening anytime soon,
Well, Derek, if we can help you at all at the Freedom Network, we reached out to everybody. This is a Freedom Network. Everyone's talking. Everyone can come on here and talk. We'll have another couple of shows. We'll have you on again.
Yeah, shout out to Paul. Do you want to maybe shout out maybe your email there? I'm sure there's a lot of listeners from different groups and Telegram
groups. It's all over the Telegram group. The emails are on the Telegram group, but you'll get us. We're on the radio at www.freedomradio.net. you'll get the live stream up there tonight on this one as well, and that'll be going up on the website later. You can get us on Freedom, www.freedom, freedom.net, freedom-network.net. You'll get us on that as well. You'll get on all the telegrams. You get us on everything. And what we want to do is anyone's podcasts, give them to us. We'll put them up. We'll put them through the radio if we can. You know, we can do that now. We can put them through the radio. So we could be running your podcast all day. People could be hearing your podcast. That's this.
Yeah, it's a 24/7 live stream, and that's kudos again to AJ. I've had that the Irish column running when we're not talking. He plays some incredible music, a lot of Irish music and stuff, a lot of nostalgic stuff. So I'm an IT guy as well, like yourself, Paul, and like AJ, and we're only sort of starting to start off here. But we want to be as public with our intentions as we can. We're not like, raising money to register some proper charity.
All free. This is all non-profit. Non-profit.
None of us are getting paid for anything, blah, blah, blah. We all know that.
Yeah.
It's just to get the voice out there in terms of, because there's a lot of technical stuff that needs to happen with a radio station and licensing and stuff like that. We are looking into that, etc., etc. But it's just, there's no... there's no tricks. We're all on the right side of history, folks, as we've proven here.
Fair play to you lads for giving your time as well. It's
well done.
Yeah. We wouldn't be on here tonight if it wasn't for you. So, and fair play to AJ as well. Yeah.
Fair play to him.
Lads, again, as I said, if we can help you in any way, you have our names, numbers, the whole lot. We'll be talking to you anyway on the 20th. So please, God, I'll talk to you before that.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. We'll see us on the 20th. That's only in 10 days, guys. We'll be hammering that
out.
All, yeah.
No worries.
That out, yeah.
Well, thanks so much for having me on.
All right, lads.
God
bless.
See you later. Cheers.
Nice one, Derek. See you all.
Thank you very much, Tommy. See you later, buddy. Bye-bye.
Yeah, well, Paul.
That's great. Great having the lads there now. Yeah.
I think that went well.
You think that went very well?
I think that went better than we could have expected.
I don't know. I knew it would go well. You know what I mean?
I knew it was going to go well, but I didn't know it was going to go that well. It went extremely well. And again, I thank you and AJ. I mean, like we only touched on the topics there. There are an infinite amount of topics we could talk about.
Yeah.
I mean, there are really an endless amount of people we could get on to get.
But that's what we're going to do in the next
episode one is just for the first run. It's amazing. Like, I mean,
ideally, what we want to do is to have we'll have after show podcasts. You can become a member on the Freedom Network. If you go onto the Freedom Network, become a member. There will be after show. I'm not saying after show parties, but after show podcasts, like where me and you could stay on, or Derek could stay on and answer questions to people, and that's ideally what we want to do. So you join the members there. You come on to www.freedom-network, become a member. You can come in. You can come in then, and you can be talking to the world. Because with the new digital media thing that came in last Friday week, Telegram could be a thing of the past. I'm not saying it will be, but if it is, we're here. We can take up the slack. We have our own server. Our server is offside. We cannot be touched. And please come on board with us. Join us at the radio station. Join us on the website, and you get us on Telegram. Whatever.
Absolutely. I think after the technical issues, Paul, of the first couple of minutes of this, and then to just for all the listeners of how well it went during and throughout that over an hour and a half. I mean, there's nothing going to stop us. So definitely mention it to AJ. I know he's listening in, but the 20th is not this Wednesday.
Oh, we'll push that. We'll push that now. That's going to get pushed out everywhere. Yeah.
But we need to have, like, I could go live on the 20th if you wanted. Just an idea. But
well, I'll be there with you, so we can probably do it. Yeah, we can probably do it.
Have a think about it. I mean, we're just sort of doing some, I suppose.
This is all a test. This is all a test. That's all it is.
It's intent, and knowing that you're on the right side of history and knowing the right people. And
I know where I am. Yeah. And I'm doing everything I do for my kids. That's all.
Absolutely. I have no kids yet, but
my kids and your kids.
But I'm doing it for my kids as well. I firmly, but I will, absolutely will. one day. But I believe if we don't stand up for this country, Paul, like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to collapse. And I mean, kudos again. And I know I've said it so many times to yourself and AJ, who've been so instrumental behind the scenes and getting this radio station up and going. And I just have a great feeling about this. So I'll leave you on that note, Paul, and I'll be talking to you in the next couple of days. Thanks very much for having me on.
Anto, thank you very much. You were a good co-host. Now I have to say you kept it going, mate. Thanks very much.
Thanks.
I'll talk to you later. Cheers, buddy. Okay, that's the end of the show there now. And thank you for listening. And again, I'll leave you with this little phrase. The truth is like a lion. You don't have to defend it. You just let it loose and it will defend itself. Thank you very much. Good night.